Am I the a-hole for not backing my wife up when our son says she's no longer his mother? Hi, so I think my wife has single-handedly the cause of all her problems. I'm done pretending I'm at fault. Kind of done with her in general, and I see divorce at the horizon like a bright sunrise. So me and my wife got together in college. Things were fine, and I proposed when I was 23 and she was 22. People might say that's young, and yeah, probably, but we didn't get married until we were 25 and 26. Well, she got pregnant at 24 and we had a son. I want to say, I didn't force her to have him. I told her I'd love to have him. Personally, I was ready, but if she wanted to wait a bit, I'm okay with that too. She chose to go through with the pregnancy. We started getting ready for the baby, and I told her because of our living situation, if she wants, she can go back to work and continue her career. We can afford a long-term babysitter. Our living situation is, my aunt and uncle are successful and they own a second home where we live. We just pay bills like electricity and stuff. Not bad at all, so we have extra cash. She said no, she wants to stay with our son and be a stay-at-home mom. Sure, I don't care. I'm fine with that. Bond with our baby. Well, she got PPD and didn't bond with the baby. I told her to go to therapy because this wasn't going to fly. Me bringing in 100% of the money, me paying 100% of the bills, me taking care of our baby 100% of the time that I'm at home. She didn't want to work, and she refused to care for the baby, so I had to get a babysitter every Monday through Friday anyway. I was sympathetic at first. I get it, having a baby is difficult. But 2 years of that and you start resenting them for not doing anything and refusing to get help. Constant fighting about her doing nothing and how I'm tired of being with her. I told her at one point it was either get help or I'm divorcing her and she can go back to live with her parents at the age of 27, which they've made it aware they won't be happy with that. She went back to work but not her college degree career. No, she chose to work at the local cigarette shop store. At this point, I just didn't care. It was something good enough. I just became indifferent. We stopped being intimate. We stopped talking about anything other than our son. We're basically roommates. That's our marriage. He's now 17. Me and my wife got into it because I told her I'm done. Completely done. Our son is almost 18. He's preparing himself for college, which is completely paid for by me and his grandparents. And when he's gone, I'm gone. She freaked out. Told me I'm worthless. She wishes she never met me. She hates she got pregnant and wished she aborted our son when I told her she could. He overheard, obviously, and he came out and yelled at her and told her, "Fine, have it your way. You're not my mother anymore. Go F yourself." Well, in my opinion, reap what you sow. She's now upset he wants nothing to do with her. It's been 2 months and he does not talk to her or interact with her in any way. He works a part-time job, he buys everything he needs, he has his own car, he doesn't need her for anything. If he needs something, he asks me for extra cash for help with his car, things like that. But he avoids her like the plague. She's mad at me and wants me to make him talk to her, and I said me and her are done, which I've made clear. I don't know what she's expecting from me, but if he's also done, then maybe she shouldn't say things she doesn't mean. If he wants to forgive, then he can, but I'm not going to make him, or even suggest that he should. He's old enough to make his own decisions and understand his feelings. I'd be hurt if my parents said that about me. I don't know if I'm the a-hole. If I am, then it is what it is, but I guess I want an outside opinion. I'm not willing to do anything different, but just want to know because her friends have been harassing me saying I'm a bad husband. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. She's the one who said all of the hurtful things. That is on her. I understand your son's position. He is not in the wrong. Just keep a strong relationship with your son and let him know that you never regretted having him as your child. Her friends can go piss up a rope. Me and my son are close. I told him I've always wanted him and I'm proud of who he is becoming as a man. I did make it clear his feelings are his own. If he ever does forgive his mother, then that's great. If not, then that's okay as well. It's his life. Despite her thinking so, I'm not encouraging his behavior, but I don't disagree with it either. Are you going to divorce her? I am assuming you stayed married for your son. Please go have a life and be happy. You are young, and whoever you meet, you will at least know what you don't want. She used her words to hurt you, and lo and behold, her son heard her. What the heck does she expect him to do? What the heck does she think you can do to fix it? You didn't say it. She's suffering the consequences of her actions. She's going to have a very long road ahead of her, waiting for your son to forgive her. I can also promise you that your son doesn't want you to suffer for him anymore. Stand strong for yourself and your son. Don't give her anything anymore. Just let her find her own way. She has a college degree, so it's not like she's unable to find work in her field. You have dreams, I am sure, so begin fulfilling them now. Yeah, divorce her now, for your son. Show him you value him and will not allow him to live with that kind of resentment toward him and his home. I'm sure he has picked up on it over the years. I come from a situation like this. Staying together is not helping you or him. Your bond will be stronger if you still have some time at home with him to be a happy family unit, the two of you. Your wife, hopefully soon to be future ex, will only negatively color the time you still have at home with your son before he leaves. It's best to not expose him to any more emotional abuse or manipulation, and to make it clear he has a safe home with you so that he will want to come home in the future. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not sharing my trust fund with my step-siblings? I'm 17 male and my parents divorced 2 years ago. Nothing crazy happened. The marriage was just not working out. My mom remarried and I have 2 step-siblings. My dad did not. My grandfather on my dad's side is really old and he eventually drafted up a will. While he was writing it, he eventually met with me and my dad. He told us that before he died, he wanted to make sure I would be okay in the long run. So he's setting up a trust fund for me and my dad will be the trustee. I won't be accessing this trust fund until I graduate college. I'm not sure how much it is, but my dad said it's in the 6 figures. This was all planned. My grandpa wanted to make sure I was fully set up for life since I'm his only grandson and we are very close. He has no one else to leave anything to besides me and my dad. Due to the divorce, I spent half my time with my dad and half with my mom. As I mentioned before, my mom remarried someone with kids. My step-siblings are around my age, and while I get along with them okay, we're not super close. They're cool and all, and I don't have any dislike towards them, but I don't really see them as my siblings. They don't see me that way either. Recently, my mom ended up finding out about my grandpa's plans to leave me a trust fund. My stepdad and her sat me down on the couch and said we need to discuss my trust fund. They told me since I'm getting a lot of money, I should share it with my step-siblings. Their reasoning is that we're all family now, and it wouldn't be fair for me to have all this wealth while my step-siblings get nothing. They feel that since my grandpa is giving me such a valuable asset, I should use it to help everyone out. Especially because my step-siblings aren't in a good financial situation and will need to afford college. While I understand where they're coming from, I don't think it's fair to expect me to share the property. This trust fund is coming from my grandpa, who has no relationship or obligation to my step-siblings. He specifically wants me to have it, and it feels wrong to go against his wishes by giving part of it away to people he's not connected to. I also can't access this money until I graduate college, so it's not like I can even do anything with it right now. They want my money to pay for their kids' colleges, but by the time I access the money, they would have graduated college by then, or have been in their last year. Also, they're saying my step-siblings are in a bad financial situation, but this isn't completely true. They may not be able to afford a lot of colleges, but they can definitely go to a state school, and that's still really good. When I told my mom and stepdad how I felt, they got upset and said I was being selfish and not thinking of the family as a whole. They think I'm being greedy for wanting to keep everything for myself, even though I don't feel like it's their place to ask me to share something that was never meant for anyone but me. I told my dad and grandpa about it, and my grandpa was angry and called my mom and stepdad and told them that the trust fund is for me and no one else, and they have no right to it. Obviously, I'm conflicted. I don't wish anything bad on my step-siblings, but my grandpa obviously left me money to give me a head start in life. After college, that money will be super useful for investments, housing, and other stuff. If I use it to pay for my step-siblings' college, I probably won't have much left. My mom and stepdad are being cold towards me and my step-siblings have no idea what's going on. I'm starting to reconsider now because I don't want to ruin the relationship with my mom and her husband. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, but tell your dad and grandpa. My guess is grandpa will bring the hammer down. I would. Pretty sure mom's request was foreseen by granddad, and a big part of the reason he set the trust up in the way he did. Definitely talk to dad and granddad. Whatever you do not share that money. Tell your father. What your mother is doing is pure manipulation and disgusting. She should be ashamed to call herself your mother. Such a disgraceful POS. Not a-hole. Involve your father. I did. He called her and basically yelled at her for it. As the trustee, he told me he will make sure my mother will never see a penny of that trust fund. Since you are 17, see if you can live with your father full-time. They have shared custody of me, so I don't know how that would work. It's only 1 more year, then I could do whatever I want. I know, but I'm just concerned about the emotional and verbal abuse you may go through living with your mom. Right now it's silent treatment, but I'm at my dad's, so it's going well. Thanks for the concern. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter I won't budge even if she never speaks to me again? My daughter, Casey, 17 female, worked and saved up money for around a year to be able to afford a better car than we could buy her with our family budget. My other daughter, Alana, 16 female and has ADHD, recently got her driver's license and asked to drive Casey's car. Casey allowed it, but Alana ended up having a bad accident around 6 months ago, which basically rendered the car unusable. The insurance payout wasn't nearly enough to cover the replacement, and with Alana's medical bills from the accident, thankfully there was no permanent damage, just a broken arm and leg. There was no way we could afford to replace Casey's car immediately. Alana was very apologetic to Casey, and so were we, since we couldn't afford to replace her car. Casey didn't accept our apology, and has been basically avoiding us, skipping family dinners, and pretty much pretending that her mom, Alana, and I don't exist, and only talks to us if she needs a form signed for school. I begged her to come to a family therapy session, and she eventually relented, but with the condition that Alana wouldn't be present. In the therapy session, she told us that she won't be resuming a relationship with us until we replace her car, which realistically won't be until next year. When the therapist asked how she expected us to do that, Casey said we would just make Alana work to earn the money. The issue is that Alana has severe ADHD and already has trouble managing her schoolwork. I'm worried that making her work to earn the money will harm her grades and have significant ramifications for her future. Casey said, "Well, she should have thought about that before destroying my car. I don't care. I'm not gonna speak to any of you unless I have my car replaced." I responded that she was free to avoid speaking to me for as long as she wanted to, but I'm not going to permanently harm her sister's future to get her a car earlier. My wife agrees with me that we need to stand firm in our position, but is also genuinely afraid of Casey never speaking to her ever again. I understand that her car was ruined, but as a parent, I need to look out for all my children, not just one. I also don't want to set the precedent that emotional blackmail will work, even if what you're asking for is unreasonable. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Anyone wondering how much convincing it took for Casey to let Alana drive her car? I'm not wondering. I'm already convinced that Casey allowing it was reluctant at best and coercion at worst. No convincing at all. We weren't even involved in a convo between them. You're the a-hole. As much as I doubt that you had no influence in Casey agreeing to let Alana use her car, it doesn't change the fact that Alana is responsible for working to replace the car. She needs to learn responsibility. I have a sibling who has severe ADHD and has been medicated for it for as long as I can remember. It has never impeded on his ability to hold down a job and or be successful working and going to school. Alana is learning that there are no consequences for her actions. That is not real life. What would you expect of Alana if this was one of her friend's cars and they expected it to be replaced? Would you come up with the money, expect her to get a job, or would you tell them too bad so sad? You have an opportunity to teach her a huge lesson here. Take it. Don't risk losing one kid to mollify and favor the other. Do better. It's telling that Alana wasn't driving mom or dad's car. Wonder why? I'm with Casey on this one. You're cuddling your youngest. And you have no idea if having a job could actually help your youngest learn to manage her time. You left your oldest hanging. If Alana can get her driver's license, she can get a job. Last story. My husband considered it stealing when I sold his expensive watch to pay for our son's procedure. Am I the a-hole? My 6-year-old son had a medical issue and needed to have a procedure. My husband hasn't worked for 9 months after leaving his previous job, and my salary is barely enough to get us by. My husband bought some expensive things when he used to get paid. He had a high-paying job and saved no money, but instead bought some expensive stuff for himself. He had to sell most of it to be able to buy new clothes or get a new iPhone. He had an expensive wristwatch that he was keeping to wear at important occasions. We discussed coming up with money to pay for the procedure, and he refused to give up the watch and told me to find some other way to get the money when he knows I can't. He suggested that our son stays on meds to manage the pain till I come up with the money. But the procedure was advised as soon as possible. I just could not bear seeing my son going through so much pain, so I went ahead and sold the watch and paid for the procedure. My husband found out and immediately said that he considered this stealing and said that he won't look at me the same anymore. He didn't yell or react harshly, just kept saying that I committed theft and that I overstepped and betrayed his trust. After that, he stopped saying anything else to me, just that what I did was stealing. His family sided with him, and his mom, whom I'm not on good terms with, suggested that he either divorce me or get a lockbox to keep his stuff safe, since I stole from him before. I was so devastated by how I was treated and thought that I was doing the right thing. Now he's making me feel like what I did was really stealing, regardless of the reason why I did what I did in his opinion. Was it really stealing? Am I the a-hole? Take up your mother-in-law's advice and divorce him. He was happy to see your son, who I presume is also his, in pain for the sake of a watch. Ask yourself what he actually contributes to the marriage or your and your son's life. He's a mooching mama's boy, and you deserve more. Opie is already supporting the household on her income alone. Getting rid of the mooch will save her money on food expenses. She definitely needs to move all her income into a lockbox, aka a separate account, to stop him stealing it, if not already done that. As said, trust is blown. Not a-hole. It may or may not have been stealing legally speaking. But morally, you did the right thing. I would have done the same in your situation. Your husband suggesting jeopardizing your son's health and subjecting him to unnecessary suffering for the sake of a freaking watch is sick. I would 100% steal to pay for my son's surgery if he was sick and in pain, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. Especially if the person I was stealing from was the other parent. I mean, honestly, is it even stealing in this case? I don't think it is. I know this sounds bad, but I'd sell myself if it meant my kid wasn't in pain and save them.